Welcome to our countdown of 10 towns in Pennsylvania you should never move to. A list that might make you rethink those Pinterest boards filled with dreams of moving to the Keystone State. Sure, Pennsylvania is known for its charming small towns, deep history, and scenic neighborhoods. But beyond the glossy brochures are communities where life feels less like comfort and more like constant struggle. Some towns rank among the worst for safety, others for job prospects, and a few fail spectacularly in both. If you've been searching for the best places to settle in Pennsylvania, this video shows you the other side of the coin, where relocating could turn into one of the worst financial and emotional choices you'll ever make. Stick around as we count down the top 10 worst towns to live in Pennsylvania right now. You'll want to see every single one before you think about packing boxes. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss our deep dive town and city reviews. Number 10. Renovo. Renovo kicks off our list, and it's not a pretty picture. With a poverty rate of 33%, nearly triple the state average, Renovo isn't just struggling, it's drowning. Walking through town feels like visiting a museum of lost industry. Once a thriving lumber hub, the sawmills are long gone, the forests stripped, and the economy never found a way to recover. The median household income is just $30,491, compared to Pennsylvania's $76,000. That's not a gap, it's a canyon. Unemployment sits at about 10%, meaning 1 in 10 adults can't find work. The town's average age hovers around 47, signaling not renewal, but decline. On paper, housing looks cheap, with a median home value of $61,300. But that's only a third of the county average, and about a quarter of the state's. A bargain home in a town that's already given up isn't much of a bargain at all. So here's the real question. When you imagine moving to Pennsylvania, is Renovo the life you picture? If you value stability, community, and basic economic security, this town is one to skip. Number 9. Mount Union. Next up is Mount Union, a town that's a neon warning sign disguised as affordability. Here, 34.7% of residents live below the poverty line, more than double both the county and state averages. Mount Union's glory days were during the silica brick boom. But today, the median household income is just $38,947, almost half of Pennsylvania's average. The median home value sits at $99,000, barely a third of the state's. Commutes don't help either. With an average drive of 34 minutes, residents spend about 10% longer in their cars than others in the county. Education levels are also low, with only 11.7% holding a bachelor's degree or higher, compared to the state average of 34%. Child poverty paints an even harsher picture. 55% of kids live below the federal poverty line, making Mount Union one of Pennsylvania's most economically distressed towns. Yes, homes are cheap, but in a place where jobs are scarce and opportunities are fading, that bargain comes at a steep cost. Mount Union isn't quirky or charming. It's a stark example of what happens when history stalls out, and the future never arrives. Number 8. Shannondoa. At number 8 is Shannondoa, where nostalgia lingers, but opportunity is nowhere to be found. The poverty rate is 32.4%, more than double both county and state averages. Walk through town, and it feels frozen in time, its storefronts whispering stories of a coal boom that ended decades ago. The per capita income average is just $21,600, and the median household income sits at $40,700, about half of what most Pennsylvanians make. From 2010 to 2023, incomes barely budged, leaving residents stuck while the rest of the country moved forward. Commute times average 27.4 minutes, slightly above the state average, meaning more time in traffic and less at home. Housing is strikingly cheap, with a median home value of $43,500. But low prices here reflect low demand, another sign of economic stagnation. Education lags badly too. Only 12% of residents hold a bachelor's degree or higher, compared to 34% statewide. While Shannondoa does have some diversity, about 9% of residents were born outside the U.S. Diversity alone doesn't equal prosperity. Shannondoa is a classic cautionary tale. History may provide character, but it doesn't pay the bills. Number 7. McKeesport. Think of McKeesport as an economic wake-up call wrapped in harsh reality. Nearly 33% of residents live in poverty. That's 1 in 3 households struggling just to scrape by. This isn't a temporary setback, it's a flashing warning sign that's been on for years. Walk the streets, and you'll feel like time simply forgot this place. The population tells the same story. From 17,727 in 2020 down to about 17,520 in 2023, the town shrank by 1.3% each year. The median household income sits at $31,854, less than half the state average. Housing might look affordable, with a median value of just $69,800, but those prices reflect risk, not opportunity. Safety is another concern. The odds of becoming a violent crime victim are 1 in 63, well above the state norm. Property crime hits 1 in 33, so cheap homes don't come with peace of mind. Even daily life feels like an uphill climb. Commutes average 27.6 minutes, longer than the state average, and with unemployment at 7.8%, that time on the road doesn't always end at a good job. So ask yourself, are you moving to Pennsylvania to build a dream, or to gamble on a town where opportunity and safety feel as rare as good Wi-Fi in the woods? In McKeesport, reality hits faster than a coupon past its expiration date. Number 6. Philadelphia. Welcome to the city of brotherly love, where the promise often collides with reality. Roughly 20 to 22% of residents live below the poverty line, meaning 1 in 5 Philadelphians struggles daily. While that's a slight improvement from 21.7% in 2022, the city still holds the title of the poorest among America's largest cities. The median household income has finally climbed above $60,000, the first time since the 1970s, but it still trails the national average of $77,000. Poverty remains stubborn, and income inequality runs deep. Crime adds weight to the struggle. Yes, violent crime is down 17% in 2025 compared to last year, and murders have fallen 53% since the pandemic, but Philadelphia still ranks among the country's most dangerous major cities. Retail theft continues to drain businesses, and for newcomers, safety is an everyday calculation. Housing doesn't offer easy wins either. The median home value is $232,000, not outrageous, but certainly not the bargain it might appear given the city's broader challenges. So, what do you picture when you think of Philly? Strolling under historic arches, cheesesteak in hand, or trying to budget while juggling rising costs, thin social safety nets, and crime risk that never quite goes away? Philadelphia delivers history and grit in spades, but not always in the way hopeful transplants expect. Number 5. Allentown. Allentown, Pennsylvania's third largest city, balances between cultural pride and economic hardship. Poverty sits at 21.5%, leaving 1 in 5 residents below the line, a rate higher than both the national and state averages. The median household income hovers between $53,400 and $53,800, over $20,000 less than the U.S. median. With a cost of living near the national average, that income gap stings harder. Unemployment varies wildly, ranging from 5.8% to 9.2%, painting a picture of instability. Yes, Allentown offers attractions, the Da Vinci Science Center, art museums, even the country's oldest civilian concert band. But as charming as those sound, culture doesn't cover rent. Demographics are shifting. Nearly 55% of residents identify as Hispanic or Latino, up from 24% in 2000. Diversity adds vibrancy, but without strong income growth, that energy feels overshadowed by struggle. Allentown embodies contradiction. Walk downtown, and you'll feel the cultural pulse. Look at the paychecks and poverty rates, and you'll see the weight residents carry. Billy Joel may have sung about Allentown decades ago, but the hardships he described are still written into daily life. Number 4. Chester. Chester's numbers don't whisper, they shout. More than 30.8% of residents live below the poverty line, pulling 1 in 3 into financial strain. On the surface, it might look like a typical Pennsylvania river town, but beneath the colonial charm lies persistent hardship. The median household income is just $39,890, with per capita income at $23,451, both far below state averages. And crime here is relentless. Violent crime hits 1,758 per 100,000 residents, while property crime soars to 3,519 per 100,000. Those aren't just statistics, they're everyday risks. Housing might tempt with its median value of $85,400, but affordability means little when unemployment hovers at 15.9%, nearly triple the state average. Families face a daily grind of financial instability. Even cost of living, pegged at 93 on the index, slightly below national average, doesn't provide relief. Groceries, healthcare, and services run above average, eating away at already thin budgets. And then there's governance. Chester filed for bankruptcy in 2022, and its water system remains locked in financial disputes. Civic dysfunction adds yet another hurdle to residents already weighed down by poverty and crime. In short, Chester is a city with history, and with enormous baggage. For newcomers, the risks of moving here outweigh the promise of affordability or proximity to Philadelphia. Number 3. Rankin. Get ready for a reality check. 32.6% of Rankin's residents live below the poverty line, nearly 1 in 3 people fighting just to make ends meet. Affordable living might look tempting here, but the stats tell another story. Median household income is only $29,783, less than half of Pennsylvania's average, while per capita income comes in at $23,759. On the housing side, properties seem cheap at $84,400, far below the state's $240,000 plus average. The cost of living is also low, around 18% below the state average. But when paychecks are small and jobs are scarce, stretching a budget becomes survival, not comfort. Population decline is another warning sign. Rankin lost nearly 6% of its residents between 2022 and 2023, now down to just 1,729 people. That's not growth, it's retreat. Surprisingly, crime isn't the biggest issue here. Overall crime is 57% below the national average, and violent crime sits 61% lower, making it safer than most towns. Still, safety doesn't translate into opportunity. The median age is 35.9, a bit younger than the Pennsylvania average, and commutes average 27.6 minutes, slightly longer than usual. Rankin poses a tough question. Do you want cheap homes and low crime, or do you want a place with opportunity, stability, and growth? In Rankin, affordability comes at the cost of stagnant wages and an economy that feels like it's fading away. Number 2. Nesquehoning. Here's the truth. About 16% of Nesquehoning's residents live below the poverty line, far above Pennsylvania's 11.8% average. That postcard, small town charm, quickly turns into a financial balancing act. Median household income is just $53,571, over $22,000 less than the state average. Service jobs dominate the local economy, and major employers have long since left. Houses may look like bargains, with median values around $105,400, roughly half of the state average, but demand is weak, which makes those low prices less appealing. Crime, at least, is relatively low. Rates are 48% below the national average, and the odds of being a victim are about 1 in 85, which is safer than most towns. But as always, safety doesn't fill the wallet. Education also struggles, with only about 15% of residents holding a bachelor's degree, less than half of Pennsylvania's 34% rate. Add in commute times averaging 32 minutes, well above the state average, and daily life becomes more draining. The 2022 closure of KME Corp., once the town's largest employer, left hundreds without work. A solar plant has brought some new jobs, but it's no substitute for the scale of industry that once sustained the community. Nesquehoning may score points for safety and scenery, but it falters when it comes to wages, opportunity, and education. Affordable? Sure. Thriving? Not even close. Number 1. Mahanoy City. When homes sell for around $36,000, it may look like a steal, but ask yourself, is it truly a bargain, or a sign of desperation? Welcome to Mahanoy City, where low costs come with steep trade-offs. Nearly 29% of residents live in poverty, nearly 3 times the national average. Median household income hovers at just $37,400, compared to Pennsylvania's $76,000, making financial security feel out of reach for most families. Property crime isn't extreme but still higher than small-town norms, with theft and vandalism keeping residents cautious. Job opportunities are thin. Many residents either commute long distances or depend on fading local industries, creating a cycle of economic stagnation. Education adds another hurdle. Only about 10% of residents have a bachelor's degree or higher, stunting upward mobility. The population has shrunk to roughly 3,500, a clear sign that opportunity left town long before many of its people did. Yes, the coal region scenery offers a certain rugged charm, but decades of industrial decline have left scars you can't ignore, like living in a museum of what used to be. It's a place interesting to pass through, but not to plant roots in. So ask yourself, do you want to stake your future on a town where the best thing may be the road out, or choose a community where opportunity, growth, and stability are alive and well? Mahanoy City is proof that cheap living can come with heavy costs. Pennsylvania offers stunning beauty and thriving communities, but these towns are cautionary tales. High poverty rates, stagnant economies, and shrinking populations prove that cheap doesn't always mean cheerful. Which of these places shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you're planning a move, make sure to do your homework, explore more, stay informed, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next countdown of the best and worst places to live in Pennsylvania.